everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and I'm excited today to be doing a Kickstarter preview here on Tabletop Simulator for a game called Dire Alliance that's landing on Kickstarter, and I'm really excited to show you the true solo play of this particular game. So we're going to be controlling just one character. Now there's many characters you could choose from, just as much as there'd be many different enemies you can choose from, and I'll show you in a really high-level way all the things you're seeing here on screen, but really we're going to dive into how the game actually plays. You'll see it flow, and that will connect the dots for you, I think, even better. So we've got the rulebook over here to the right. Right here we have our dice. Now in terms of this game, I'm going to go ahead and use blue dice. These are exactly the same, red and blue, in terms of the sides of each of the dice. If you're familiar with Brook City or Street Masters, you'll be familiar with these dice. I'm going to go blue because my character itself is blue. That'll keep things easy, and then the red dice will be used for the wonderful enemy that we're going up against, and that enemy is the Countess. And you can see the villain reference card right here. So on this card it tells you the health. So 3p means 3 health per each player. So I'm playing solo, so it's going to be 3 health, and that is how I win the game. Can I take the Countess down by doing 3 damage through to this Countess? I win. On the other side, you've got stats. You have stats for defense, melee, and range. So 1 on the defense side of things, 4 for melee, and 0 for range. These are going to represent what type of, or how many, I should say, dice are going to be rolled when the Countess is going ahead and doing these various actions. It also talks specifically about abilities down below. The deck is right here. We'll pull from this deck for the Countess to find out what's going to happen, not only for the major villain, which is this vampire here, but also for all these wonderful minions that are all over the map. Now, you've got some objective tokens all the way over here. You got 5 of them, actually. So red, green, blue, yellow, and purple. The villain's main goal is to essentially take 3 of these objective tokens. She'll try to move to these objective points and take them. And if she gets 3, she wins the game. And you can see all that information on the back of this, which really just shows you exactly how what you're seeing to the top left was set up in terms of the villain, the random minions, the objective, the hero start. And if we flip this over, you can actually see on the opposite side everything that I just mentioned in terms of the villain's goal. And of course, the hero's goal is to defeat the villain. So pretty straightforward with this, demo version here. We have no special setup instructions and no special rules. So again, that'll make things a little more simple, but you can expect in the final version and in the other entries or different ways to play this game in terms of scenarios and things like that, you are definitely going to find different types of special rules and setup instructions and things like that that'll make things more interesting. So what you can see over here, just above the Countess, is a vampire die or another state, essentially, for the Countess. And we'll talk more about how that works, but it's a state that she can go into. And when she does, things get real nasty for me, but we'll deal with that later. We got our wound tokens here. We'll be trying to put the 3 wounds on the vampire to take her out. Down below, the Grievers is the group we're going up against. There'll be many different factions within the game. For this one, we're focusing on the raid mode side, as it mentions in the title of the video. So in this group here, we have the Bearer, the Caretaker, the Experimenter, the Butcher, and the Reclaimed. Now, the top 4 are actually on the board here, and you'll see them dispersed around based on the setup. The only one that's missing, actually, I believe, is, well, actually, maybe they're all here. So we got 2 of the Experimenter, we have 1 of the Bearer, and we have a Caretaker. The Butcher is the one that's currently not out yet. And the Butcher is pretty nasty, as you can see from the card. Looking at their stats, pretty strong in the defense department, pretty strong in the melee department for the Butcher. And you've got basically the AI of each of these things when they activate down below. And I'll talk about how that actually works when we get to that step. You'll also see here things about the setup in the middle there. All that stuff's already been set up. So the placing of the 5 reclaimed near the board, you can see to the right here, there's 5 reclaimed ghost tokens. So those are already set up, good to go. And you got special rules and keywords underneath that we're going to reference, plus the round summary on the far left side. That we're definitely going to be going through as we play through as well. So essentially, we have the villain down here in the bottom right-hand corner, and the villain has this wonderful casket that is with her right now. And this thing is going to be something that's going to constantly, the coffin, follow her around and basically buff her up and make her a little bit more painful for me to deal with. We'll talk about how that works in terms of mechanics later. As I mentioned, objective tokens all around, minions everywhere else, and then I'm way up in the top left-hand corner, and I am Vanessa for this particular playthrough. And I thought vampire hunter against a actual vampire makes logical sense. So that's what we're going to do. This card you're seeing at the top of the board here is essentially the hero reference card. It's basically the standard stats you're going to see for this character. So 1 die on defense, 1 die on melee. That's what I always have available no matter what I play out of my hand. This is a game that's going to be using, you're going to be basically building a deck of cards as you go through this game, and you've got your supply right here. Now, in this prototype, this particular hero card here is a set of 3. This is a set of 3. There's 3 of each of these cards, and you'll be gaining these cards and putting them into your discard at a later date, and then they'll go into your deck, and you'll be using them. But the deck also represents your life as you take damage, and the damage gets through after resolving dice. If any damage does come through, it always counts as just a single damage to you, no matter how the dice actually roll out. So basically, you conclude whether you have, more shields, for instance, than the damage that's actually coming towards you. So in a case like this, 2 hits, or maybe 3 hits, even worse, and 1 shield, that would normally mean 2 damage coming through to you. But in this game, that just means damage is occurring. And when a damage occurs to me, I'll go ahead and I'll first look at my hand. And depending on which actual enemy was attacking me, I'll then go ahead and reference the center of each of these cards. You'll see there's a level 1, 2, 3, and a kind of a cross there in the middle of each of those cards, just above where their actions are depicted. And that is going to let you know what type of card you need to discard either from your hand, your deck, or your discard. And that's the order in which you'll search to try to find that card. If you try, so for instance, if the experimenter was to try to hit me, it's a level 3, as you can see in the center of the card there. So I would be looking through my hand, hoping to have a level 3 to get rid of. If I didn't, I'd then go to my deck and search through my deck here, hoping to find a level 3 card to ditch. If I couldn't do it there, I'd then look through my discard pile, and if I can't find one there, I lose. So you don't necessarily just lose from your deck depleting down to 0. That's not necessarily the trigger for the death like some other games are. This one's really specific about making sure you're kind of balancing the drafting of the cards in your deck, because at any given moment, it could call upon a particular card to be removed from your deck, your hand, or your discard, and you could be in big time trouble if you don't have it. So long story short, we basically, every time we kill a minion, and we don't consider the reclaimed to be a minion, so the only minions in this game is the bearer, caretaker, experimenter, and butcher. Every time we kill one of the top 4, we're going to be able to add one of these cards into our deck, but it actually goes into the discard pile first, and then will eventually be moved into our deck later on. That's the way in which we're going to build towards having a better hand later on, and of course building towards getting those levels to ensure we don't die. And I'll be doing my best to try to make sure I look through my deck and things like that to ensure I've got cards to cover me so I don't die too early, because that would be sad. And again, just picture this as actually being inside of this board, because really this is the supply across all here, but these are just hero specific ones as well. So again, every single hero in Dire Alliance is going to have very different cards. So if you play with a different character, you're going to have a totally different experience. You'll also have things down here, like for instance, there's some interesting things with Vanessa in terms of what you can do with stake tokens and mark tokens. And a lot of that's talked about right down here, but even more specifically down here in the keyword section, you can see that how a mark and how a stake is used, special rules, and how we can use a mark, and how we can actually, when we deal with enemies that have been marked, what kind of benefit we can get from it. A lot of this you'll see as we go. So that's essentially a very high-level skim of what's going on here. And besides that, in terms of the setup, as you can see, there's not a ton on the table, which is quite nice. So you can really dive into the action quite quickly here. So I've gone ahead and drawn my first 4 cards from our deck here. I got the crossbow, wooden stakes, stalker's cloak, and Vanessa. And I'll just zoom in so you guys can see all of these different cards. We'll talk about the abilities on them in a second, but basically right now I can go ahead and play into my row here, at least up to 2 of them, and then my turn will move to the villain. And the villain will also have the minions wrapped up in that turn as well. So I have my base skills, as I mentioned, and I'm going to try my best here to try and put 3 damage on this vampire and win versus me losing. So first thing I want to do is get into a spot where I can actually see somebody to do any kind of attacks against. Now, range attacks, you have to draw a line of sight dot to dot, and really the only thing that's going to block that is just going to be actual obstacles in the environment. Nothing else blocks line of sight. So that's nice and easy, as many games have some pretty complicated line of sight rules. So this one's quite simplistic, and there's even some abilities that will allow you to see line of sight even through all the things on the board for long distance shots, which is pretty cool. So anyway, Vanessa's up here. I want to get to a spot where I can take out some minions and then work my way towards the vampire as fast as possible to put some damage on her before she gets her 3 objectives. So I'm going to try to move to this space right here. So what do I want to spend to do this? Now, in terms of card play, I can play a card into my row and use it for the benefit of its stats in tandem with my actual hero card to buff up, or it potentially could even reduce what I've got here. As you can see, the crossbow's a -1, and Vanessa's got a 1, and this is about melee, so that would actually cancel out my ability to have any strength on the dice front for melee attacks, but it would buff up my ability to shoot a crossbow, which is nice. The other thing you can do, besides using a card in your hand for the actual ability it shows right on it, is to flip it over, and then you have the chance to do a bunch of different things. You can actually make a melee attack, you can do a ranged attack, you can heal, which allows you to bring a card back into your deck if you need to in order to kind of bolster your strength back up again, or reduce the risk of you being killed off when you can't find the particular card that the game calls for to remove when you take damage. And there's other things you can do with this as well, like movement, for instance. If you want to move, you just flip it over. So I do want to move, and as of right now, though, I do have something that could help me with movement and give me another benefit, plus give me defense. So I'm going to play this one. I'm going to go like this. So I'm going to take this top action. You can only pick, one of the two things inside of here. So Shadow Walk's what I want. It says withdraw, and then mark an enemy you can see. Plus, this gives me the instant bump up for defense, which is going to be nice. So I'm going to go like this and move to here, and then I have to draw line of sight to see what enemies I can see from here. So from this space here, I can see this enemy over here. I can't see this one here, and I cannot see this one here, and I definitely can't see that one there. So really, this is the only one I could mark, but that's perfectly fine. At least I'm making use of that card. So I'll go ahead and place a mark token right here, and that will remind me that this character is marked. I'll talk about more about what that will do for me later on. And the other thing to note is down here, this one will allow me to really boost up, like I said, my ranged attacks, but it doesn't actually allow me to attack. So I can only play one more card here before it moves over to the villain phase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, this is the tough thing. Now, you can technically exert yourself. You're able to do that by removing a card, and you're able to move an additional space, but I'm going to try my best to avoid things like that because I don't want that to happen. Or I don't want to run into a situation where I need to do that unless it's a very dire situation. So let's do, seeing as I'm trying to get myself ready, this is going to be really handy, or could actually be handy right now, because I am here and Lash Out allows me, if you take a look at this card here, it says at the bottom, perform a melee attack targeting an enemy in your area or an adjacent area, gaining +1 melee value if targeting an enemy in the adjacent area. That's really good. So what I could do is I could try this right now. I could grab this and I could drop it here, and that's going to go ahead and bolster my melee attack up to 2 dice, which is better than what I have. And we'll bring them over here, and it allows me to attack right away. But it's not only just the 1 and the 1, but I also get a +1 because I'm attacking something in a space that's right beside me. So 3. The actual defense on the experimenter is 2, so I've got an actual decent chance of pulling this off. So here's hoping that actually works out for me. Let's see. Yes, it did. So basically, you don't care about combat when you're making an attack. Or I shouldn't say combat. You don't care about shield or defense when you're making an attack. And the enemy isn't going to be looking at its combat. It's going to be focusing more on, or its attack hits. It's going to be looking more at its defense. So 2 versus 1, that is a win. That's enough to put damage through. And it doesn't matter how much damage crosses that barrier in terms of the breakdown of the dice. It always comes across as 1. No matter it's going towards the villain, towards myself, the hero, or towards a minion. But that is enough to kill off a minion. So this individual is out of here. It goes into this bag with the rest of the minions. And I'll just go ahead and shuffle that up so we don't see that at the top again. The thing you get as a benefit for taking out a minion is you're going to go ahead down to your supply here we talked about before, and I get to pick a card. So I'm going to go ahead and take Wooden Stakes because I like this one. It says, from the heart, choose an enemy in your area to stake. You'll be able to use this token here, and as you can see down below, it says place the stake token on the target, and that enemy is now staked. After a stake enemy either attacks or defends, you may discard the stake token from them to cancel either 1 hit or 1 defense. That's pretty awesome. So we're going to go ahead and take Wooden Stakes. It goes into our discard. It does not go into our deck just yet, but eventually it will. That was pretty good for our first turn. We moved. We got rid of one of the minions already. But now we come up here to the wonderful vampire who's going to pull a card off the top, and we'll follow its instructions. So when you pull this, same thing, same idea as the hero. There's a row, so these attributes are going to add together. So now the defense of the vampire is much higher. And we go ahead and look at the icon on the card. It's purple. So the first thing we do when we pull a card, it's kind of twofold. The first thing is about the minion. And then the actual action below you're going to resolve, and you only do one of these actions, top to bottom, is going to be specific for the villain. So I'll show you how easy that is. First thing is this icon right here is purple. So it's this one right, actually, sorry, it's not that one right there. It's actually not on the board at all. Oh, that's because I just killed it. I was like looking for it and I'm like, no, I just killed it. That's why it's not there. But this is an objective token. All these are objective tokens, as I talked about before. So you don't worry about this. But because the minion that is being called upon right now isn't on the board, I go ahead and spawn a minion. Now, the interesting thing is if I had spawned one and it had been purple, it activates right away. If it's not purple, like this one is, then the new minion just comes into the color matched objective point, like this, right? To cause you grief later on. That's as simple as the villain activation is. Beyond, if you actually get the color being on the map, like if a purple guy had have actually lived, or I had have lived through my attack somehow, then we'd actually go to this area here and resolve what's underneath its card. In this case, Experimenter would have resurrected and withdrawn and done a bunch of other stuff. We'll see that later on. So now that we've done the minion activation, which is all based on that small circle icon, the next thing we do is we're going to deal with the villain. So the villain, if sated, withdraw and control. Well, right now, this villain is not sated. This is the sated token, and it's not sated just yet. We'll talk about how we actually get sated in a little bit. And then control is what that's the keyword that the villain needs when the villain is in a space with an objective in order to take the objective. And that is going to bring forth the three, well, hopefully not very soon, the three objectives the villain is looking for to win the game. So we can't do the top row, so we move to the next one. It says move twice toward the nearest hero and then do a melee attack, then withdraw if sated. So the only thing that's going to happen here is moving twice towards the nearest hero. I am way up here. So what is the fastest point to get to me, or at least fastest path? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over here. Or we can go down here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is obviously the faster path. So we'll go 1 and 2. She's just going to sit right there. That's it. That's as simple as that that really is. Now it comes back to me, and what am I going to do now? So I've cleared out everything around me. I do still have this individual here, so I could make a range shot. If I can pull off a range shot, that would be actually pretty awesome. I might do that. So if this is amazing, actually. So what I'm going to do is, and you can't have more than one mark token, as you can see right down here at the bottom. It says place one mark token on a target enemy, limit 1 per enemy. So you can't just keep using the 3 mark tokens you have and just putting them all on one enemy. And you'll see why that's, well, just having one of them is such a great benefit in a second. Because I'm going to probably attack it. So I'm going to put the crossbow like this, using it face up for +2. Take aim, choose up to 3 enemies. So I'm not really able to make full use of that ability right now because nothing's within line of sight, unfortunately. But it does beef up my ability to make a good ranged attack. And then next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip this over in order to do a ranged attack. So now we're going to go ahead and take the 2 dice that I gained from that, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the mark token I put on this individual, and I'm going to add a damage, as you can see. So I got a damage on my roll now already. And then in terms of the experimenter, only 2 defense dice. So I don't have a too bad of a shot. This might pan out. We'll see. I'm hoping that we can have one of the best starting turns ever. See how this goes. No, that did. Oh, wait, I guess it'd be, I have 2. I got it actually. So if you ignore this and you ignore this because they don't relate to what's going on, I attacked for 1, defended that one, but it didn't defend the mark token that put a damage on. So that is another minion gone. Wow. Pretty good start. I'm okay with that. So we'll go ahead and shuffle those up. Nice. And we gained another card. All right. So what are we going to do this time? We could do a, let's do a, I don't know, Vanessa. This hero card ability is pretty cool too. So let's do a Vanessa. Let's do this card here. We'll take that one. All right, we cleaned up this area quite nicely. So that's it. My hand is empty now. So we go back up to the enemy, and the enemy is going to get one more chance to stack on top of the row. So you can see all the stats are going up. Yellow is the next one that's triggered. So where's yellow? Oh, look at that. We have somebody here. So that yellow individual is going to be the one that activates. And again, remember last time we spawned because the color wasn't actually on the board. This time it is. So now we go over to this Griever's faction, and it states right underneath the bearer, shoot or move, then compel. Okay, so first off, can it shoot? So where's that line of sight? There it is, buried underneath. So we're going to go ahead and try to draw this. No, we're not going to try and draw some random shape. Oh, that's really close, but it's still skimming the side, so that's not going to work. It can't do that. But it says, sorry, that's down here. It says shoot or move, then compel. And what does compel do? So compel, activate the reclaimed nearest this minion. If no reclaimed in play, resurrect instead. Okay, so it's gonna goof around with us. Okay, so it is gonna move then because it can complete this first step, right? So we're gonna try to complete this first step. If it can't, then it's gonna go down below. You only do the then portion of one of these if the front half can actually be done. If in this case it's a shoot or move. So as long as one of those can be done, then you can compel. So in this case, it's going to move. And then it's going to try to compel, and the compel activates a reclaimed, which there is none on the board currently. So it's going to bring a reclaimed into the equation, and these things are not fun. We'll see why later. That's it. So that is literally a full round worth of play. And so now what we do is we just go ahead and take all the cards that end up in our row minus our actual stat card for our character that always stays there. And we're going to flip this one over, and we're going to group these up, and they're going to go into our discard pile. Hopefully all of them. There we go. We'll drop them on like that. Same idea over here. Grouping these up and tossing them. Simple as that. All right, so now we move into a brand new turn. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 4 cards. Let's see what we get this time. Try to move some of the stuff out of the way. We flip these over. We got wooden stakes, crossbow, holy water, stalkers. We're getting really good pulls here in terms of everything's always seeming to be very unique, allowing me to do quite a bit of stuff, which is good. No double ups. So when the deck got created at the very beginning, it was 10 cards worth. There was 2 of each of these supply cards in there, just so you're aware. So getting this kind of a spread is actually quite nice for being able to pull off some stuff at the beginning. Question of the day now is what should I focus on? I mean, the vampire is coming up through the middle and definitely will probably focus on this objective. I've got issues all the way around. I mean, these 2 are a pain because they're quite aggressive. Plus, I've got the reclaimed here. Could I make use of the crossbow could come in handy now. I could target 1, 2. Yeah, that could be interesting. That would allow me to mark a lot of individuals from distance. So I could mark them. Let's see here. Shadow Walk. Let's do that. Let's mark. Because I can mark 2 of them right now, and I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to mark the reclaimed, and I'm going to mark this individual here. And then I'm going to do probably an attack. And I think it's going to be this one. I think that's what I'm going to do. So let's do a ranged attack. So I'm going to have 2 going into this. And of course, I have it marked not to pick which enemy I want to actually attack here. So I'm going to probably attack the big guy. And the big guy, the bearer, is a 3. Ouch, that's a lot. Okay, what about the other one? I do have the mark thing, though. That's going to help me quite a bit. The reclaimed is really weak. Yeah, that's kind of overkill. Let's go with the bearer. And I'm also going to remove this mark here and hope that actually helps me. Give me the extra hit I need because I have less dice than this beast has. So let's try and see how this pans out. Oh my gosh, that's actually a really good roll, and this die is not really sitting correctly. It's more so like this. So I'm going to take it as it stands. Normally, if it was a physical game, I'd actually re-roll that because it was slightly cocked, but it was mainly in that. So that's a win for me. So that's way more than enough. So this thing is out of here. So that's another. I'm doing really good off the start here. This is a little bit strange. The few times that I played this prior to filming, I was not wiping out minions like this. So the dice rolls can definitely turn on you, and that will probably happen. Now I've already taken a wooden stakes. I've already taken vests, and you want to try and you're building towards what you're trying to aim to do, whether it's try to go after, range stuff, melee, defense, whatever it is. But you also, like I said before, when the cards start coming at you, or I should say, when you start taking damage, you need to get rid of cards. You need to make sure you have a nice balance of the different cards that are in here too. So maybe for the first run, I'll keep grabbing cards of different types. I do really like stock. We're not really I'm not really worried about healing per se right now. So I think Stalker's Cloak is going to be the one I'm going to put in here. We'll go like that. All right, and the other thing too is when you actually kill off a reclaimed, you don't gain a card to your deck. That's something else to note. You just kill it off. Basically, remove that issue from potentially happening in the future. Okay, so that was my 2 cards. Now we're going to come up here and we're going to pull a card for the Countess. The Countess has a blue symbol. So where is that? Do we have a blue or did I wipe that off the mat too? Yes. So we're drawing a new, don't be blue. Okay. Oh, actually, that was because I didn't shuffle it. My apologies. If you just put the token back in the bag and you don't shuffle, that first one or the last one you put in will literally be the first one you pull out. Green. Okay. So this is going to land over here. Try to keep the line of sight open. So far enough away that it's not a pain right now, so that's good. And it doesn't activate this turn, so that's a plus. Okay, so Deadly Charm. It's adding a lot to range. That's kind of terrifying. First thing it'll try to do for the villain is control, but there's no objective in the space, so that's not going to happen. Next is if not in an objective's area, withdraw twice. So whenever the villain withdraws, it basically just goes towards an objective. So it will stop once it gets there. It's not going to go any further. And that's literally it. So she's happy to be right here. And that's dangerous because the next time we pull a card, which will probably happen within this round, she's going to probably take that objective. So that's kind of a problem. That's it. We're back to us. And we're going to go with the wooden stakes and the holy water. So what do I want to accomplish now? I do kind of want to get rid of this thing. So it might be worth my while to do a ranged attack. Yeah, ranged attack kind of makes sense. So let's go like that. And we're going to go ahead and take 2 dice. Now this time, this is kind of mass overkill, but I'm definitely going to use this token here to give myself an extra hit. Rolling these 2 against a single 1 defense from the reclaimed. We'll see how this goes. Oh yeah, that's absolute devastation right there. Okay, so that thing's gone again. I don't gain a card for that wonderful kill, but I can tell you right now, this vampire hunter means business. She is wiping the floor with this side of the map, and now it's kind of like I want to get to a spot where I can, my line of sight opens up a little bit better. So if I was, let me think about this before I move it. Do I want to be here? Because if I move to here rather than here, my line of sight can draw to here. It can draw to here. It can draw to there, here, like all the way to here. Whereas if I'm here, I can get extra spaces over there. Get there, I can get there. Actually, this is even better. The only downside to this space is that it's really close to these other 2 enemies. So the rough side of that is I can move here and they can just move in and pummel me, which I don't necessarily like. But I am getting closer to the vampire by heading in that direction. So I think I'm going to risk it. I'm going to put myself here so I've really got lots of options in terms of my line of sight. And so that's going to force me to use that card like that. Coming back over here, we think we know what's going to probably happen. So first one, green, that is this guy, right? Oh no, this is not good. Okay, so what is this guy going to do to me? So shoot or move, then compel. Well, shooting is it can't shoot. Ha! Forget you. You can't shoot me because your line of sight, it does not work that way. So you're going to move. That's awesome. Actually, maybe that's the best thing that could have happened. So move and then compel. Now, when they move, when a minion moves, it always moves towards the heroes. When it is told to withdraw, it always heads towards the villain. So in this case, it's going to move into my space, and then it's going to compel. And compel says activate the reclaim nearest the minion, but I already killed off the reclaim that was there. So unfortunately, it will now resurrect instead, which means it's going to drag one in here with me. So making my life a little bit tougher. I don't like that. Now the villain's going to go. If that wasn't bad enough. This one says, if sated, withdraw and control. So as of right now, she is not sated. So she is not going to go ahead and control, which is very nice. And again, I'll talk about sated later on when it actually occurs. But right now, does not. And it's great. Okay, so next one is move twice toward the nearest hero and melee, then withdraw if sated. Okay, can it get to me? So it just says to move towards the nearest hero and melee. And they're not dependent on each other. So she's basically going to go like this, going to go 1. Well, which way's faster, I guess? So 1, 2. Oh, this is way fast. Oh, I'm so lucky she can't get to me. So she'll go 1, 2, and then she's going to withdraw, which basically brings her back to here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and draw up for the next round here. Getting a little terrified that I'm getting pretty close to the vampire and I'm getting surrounded by enemies. I only got 2 cards in my deck this time, so now we can go ahead and flip this whole pile over. Make sure to actually shuffle it up so that we don't see cards as we actually drop them in the discard. And we're going to go ahead and draw these out, see what we have for options. So I am surrounded right now. So what I really need to do is focus on maybe some melee attacks, and I need to bump that up as far as I can. So, and I might even need some defense based on how this is going to go. So this one says withdraw and then mark an enemy you can see. So that would allow me to escape this area and get to the vampire, which actually might not be a bad idea. So maybe what I'll do, actually, I wasn't thinking about doing it. This will also give me some defense. So let's do that. Buff up my defense, head me over here, and now I'm just one away. Now what else can I do here? So withdraw and then mark an enemy you can see. Well, I'm definitely going to mark this enemy, the vampire. I'm going to go right after her. And now, right now, with the one die I have, I could go ahead and do a lash out, which may not be bad. Let's do it. So basically, oh, this is so good. So it's a 1, a 2, and then an extra 1 because I'm attacking from an adjacent area. So I'm going to go in with 3 dice. So that's awesome. Plus it's marked, so I'm going to take that away, and that's going to give me a hit. So this is really upping my chances of actually landing something. And because I'm going very early, or at least I'm doing this on the very first turn of the round, the only defense she has is just the 1. So this is a perfect time to find that opening. So that's the thing. Remember, like, you're going to want to try to find... That wasn't a roll, by the way. I was just moving the dice. But the you're going to want to try to find those openings when the Countess doesn't have crazy amounts of defense and things like that. So let's roll this off and see how it goes. Nice. That is enough. So again, as I said before, I already had 1 from the mark, 2 and 3. 3 going through when she has no defense. I mean, in some games, you'd think that would kill her because that would be 3 damage. But again, only 1 damage ever gets through. So that's just 1 damage token. But hey, it's 1 damage token. We only need 2 more. So not bad. Not bad at all. All right, so let's go and see what the villain is going to do to us. We got laid to rest. Okay, so the first thing is the blue icon for any of these enemies. No, we've wiped that one out, so a new one is coming out, and it's purple. Okay, that's good and bad. Oh, we got a lot of action happening down here. Okay, so before activating, if the coffin is in the Countess's area, she becomes sated and withdraws. Otherwise, move the coffin to her area. So this is one of the ways that the Countess can become sated, but as of right now, the coffin is not in her space. So because it's not, at the very end of that statement, you move the coffin to where she currently is. It says otherwise move the coffin to her area. So we've done that. Next thing she's going to do is control and melee, but you can see, and I should say the first thing she could do is control or melee, but she can't do either of those. She can't attack me because I'm not in the space, and she can't obviously take an objective that's not there. So the next thing is to move and melee, and then withdraw. So she is going to go ahead and move. So the bonus in this case is that the villain will move to the objective. And again, this coffin here is going to stay where it is. But, this is actually working out quite nice for me, but it's bad because she's going after the objective. But that's it. That's it for that one. It says it's move and melee and then withdraw. But we know if it was going to go ahead and withdraw at this point, it would try to move towards the objective. It's already there. So there's nothing else for that to accomplish. So we're good there. We're back to my turn, Holy Water, and I have Vanessa. So here we go. This is where it's like, I kind of want to move and hit her again. Like, why wouldn't I? So we got Holy Water. This is a discard a mark token from an enemy you see to perform a melee attack. I don't need to do that right now. I could heal myself, but I also don't need to do that either. Now, she's not marked. That's the thing. So it won't be as easy as a task this time to get the hits, but I think it's still worth doing. So I'm going to go like this and flip this over to do a move. We're going to move into this space here, and I'm going to go over and take Lash Out, and we're going to go ahead and Lash Out. So we're going to get 3 dice. We get more dice than that because we have 2 of them in here. So it's 1, 2, 3 plus the additional die. So that's going to be 4 dice going in. That's pretty awesome. Okay. And then she's got, she's got 2 cards now. So she's probably, she's gotten a little stronger on the defense. She's up to 2. Not as easy as it was before. Let's see how this goes. I got no extra hits. Oh, that's a good roll. Oh, that was a perfect roll for her. I got way too many shields, not enough damage, and she had just enough shields to block. So nothing gets through. So that's going to happen every once in a while. You're going to think, like, I thought right there I had pretty good confidence I was going to actually do some decent damage. That did not work out. And now, unfortunately, I am very close to her. So that's probably not going to be a good thing. All right, so Deadly Charm is next. Green, that is this individual right here, looking wonderful. So the bearer is going to shoot or move, and thankfully cannot shoot, so it's going to potentially move, and then compel. So if it moves, it's going to move towards me, so it's going to come right here, and then it's going to compel. do we have? Yes, we have this one here on the board. So compel says activate the reclaim nearest the minion, and if no reclaimed in play, resurrect. So you can see down the bottom right when the reclaimed activates. When a reclaimed is defeated, return to the supply. When activated, you move and melee. So the good thing is it just moves here, closer to me, but doesn't do anything. So I'm keeping my distance enough, playing cat and mouse with them that not hurting me yet. But I don't think that'll last forever if I just focus on the villain. I'm going to eventually have problems here. In terms of the villain's going to control. So the villain does actually get to go ahead and take this tombstone. So the first objective is up. So we are dead even. If I'm looking for 3 damage and she's looking for 3 objectives, we are dead even at this point. And that's it. That's the only thing that the villain will do. So that is going to end this round. We'll clean this up and head into the next one. All right, so things are getting pretty interesting here with all this clutter of enemies down here. We've got 4 cards to work with and a lot to think about. So these wooden stakes are pretty good for choosing an enemy that's in my area to stake. And then again, as we saw earlier, staking allows you to place a stake token on a target, and then you can kind of cancel out a hit or a defense value. So that's nice. But, it's tough because this might be another great opportunity to go after her with no defense. So rather than maybe staking one of these enemies, maybe just continue to run away from them and head towards the vampire, being that this side is very empty, could be the play. Now, in terms of, well, I'm not too sure where the vampire is going to head just yet, but it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. I don't know. The vampire might actually head up this. We'll be heading up this way. So yeah, maybe I should actually try and go after the vampire in this direction anyway. Would make a lot of sense. So in that case, we want to go ahead and move, I think. We also kind of would like to get some defense going, but I don't think, well, I guess the holy water is the only thing that can give me defense. But it's only if I use it face up. I do kind of want, the mark is so tempting because I can mark so many. Oh, I definitely could. I can draw a line. So I could actually mark all 3 of these individuals. That would be really handy. Do I do that? Yeah, let's do that. I think we should play the crossbow. I think this is the right move. It's tough to say. I'm gonna do that. So let's go ahead and mark all 3 of these. This is probably gonna come back to haunt me. Like that. And the next one we are gonna do is move. Now I don't need to stake everybody, but I think I'm going to. I'll use this one to move, I think. So like that, and we'll move into the same space. This is probably a bad idea. Moving into the same space as the vampire does not sound like a good idea, but yeah, it really doesn't. I'm going to risk it. Because fortune favors the ridiculous, right? Okay, so the thirst. So the first thing is purple. Is that the color? Yeah, purple. Do we have any purples? Yes, we do down here. We've had so many of these bearer guys coming out. Shoot and then compel. So from where this bearer stands, cannot shoot me whatsoever from that distance and through all those objects. Not going to happen. I think the dot is right there. So there's no way. But it will move. And then it's going to compel. Oh, geez. So it's going to move towards me like that. And I guess I could choose which way it goes. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, same thing. So I'll put them down here. Compel means that this one here, compel activates it. When activated, move and melee. Oh, that's not good. So it's going to move this one to here. So it's kind of compelling this thing to move towards me, which I really don't like. But that wasn't as bad as I thought it might have been. So in terms of the vampire, control is first. Can't control, not an area with an objective. Melee, not good. Targeting each hero in the villain's area and each adjacent area, then withdraw if sated. And currently not sated yet, but will be if the damage goes through. So that's going to be interesting. So how much of a hit am I taking here? So I'm being attacked for 4 plus 1. Oh my, 5 dice. Ouch, that is a lot. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, 1 defense, that's probably not going to work out for me very well. In terms of the mark, each time a mark enemy is attacked, put a roll attack on my discard. That's not going to help me there. The stake would help me, but I don't have that on the vampire, so it's going to be pretty brutal. So here we go. Don't see myself blocking this. Nope. So regardless of how many hits get through, so it was 3 plus, take away the 1, so it's still going to be a hit through. I need to discard a card, and this is coming from the vampire. So because it's coming from the vampire, you'll see the skull there. That's the type of card I need to discard from my hand first, which I don't have. So I can keep my cards in hand, which is kind of nice. The next thing I look through is my deck. So I'm just going to go ahead here and search my deck for, there we go, for Vanessa. So we'll take that card out, and this is going to go into my graveyard. And I'll keep my graveyard of cards maybe up close to where the villain is, so we can kind of keep that there for reference. And we need to reshuffle so I don't know the order of what's coming up next. Okay, so that's that. That was not fun. And because the damage was done to an enemy, now she becomes sated. So I'm just going to put this token on her, which means she can now roll this vampire die. So she has that available in her pool when she happens to roll dice in the future, and the rest of her actual line here says, then withdraw if sated. And she is sated now, so she's going to withdraw, and withdrawing means she's going to try to head towards one of the objectives, and there's an objective up here that's close, so she's going to head up there. Not good, not good. Okay, coming back to me. So this is where I kind of want to like run in and maybe stake her or something like that, try to get her. So I'm going to go, and it keeps me away from all the minions that are chasing me. So I'm going to go like this, and we are going to, because my melee attacks are pretty poor, I could range attack at this point, but let me see. What's the defense? Oh, the defense is actually really low. I might want to just do a straight up ranged attack. That might be better. So let's do that. Let's try a ranged attack. So I've got 2 here. That's literally it against the 1 defense. And she's got this die though. So that's the kicker. So you've got this extra die in here. So what does this extra die do? Well, if we take a look at the back side of the Countess, it says here the vampire die results. If a vampire character rolls this result, that result on the left there, kind of looks like a blood drop in a pot or something. During a melee action in which they damage the target, the character may heal. So that's only going to apply in a situation where the vampire is actually attacking me. The one below though just gives the additional die. So they're just a little bit more like she's just a little more powerful than normal right now, which I really don't like. And hopefully that won't hurt me, but we'll see. This is kind of a 50-50 situation. Oh, that worked out really good. She got absolutely no defense, and I got all the damage I needed to get through. So that's perfect. So that ranged attack actually did the damage it needed to drop another one on her. That was surprising, actually. And now she is no longer sated because she took some damage. So it kind of broke her ability to be sated. So that's good. The other thing, too, is I did that, and I didn't even use the mark. I just realized I had a mark, and I didn't use it. But that's okay, because maybe that's going to help me in the next attack. So that's perfect. You don't have to use a mark. It says right down here that you can, each time a marked enemy is attacked, before dice roll, the attacker may discard the mark token to add. So, I mean, maybe that was for the best that I forgot that. All right, well, I got one more card left, and to be honest, why wouldn't I do another ranged attack when I can use my mark here as well? So that's a pretty good option. So we'll flip that over like that, and we get 2 dice. I'm going to definitely discard the mark token. We're going to go for the kill here. Fingers crossed we can pull this out. So I got 1 hit already, and her defenses are at just 1. So I'm liking that pretty good. Now, one thing to note, guys, is that this card here states right on it, the Countess gains +2 defense while the coffin is in her area. After the Countess suffers damage, move the coffin to her area. So even though it looks like it's really good for me right now, actually 2 extra dice come into this equation because I damaged her, and the coffin actually moves to where she was after the last hit I made on her. So it's not going to be as easy, but I do have 1 hit already. So we'll see how this pans out. I'm kind of a little worried, but we'll see. Yeah, she blocked that. No problem. So that's not going to work. Okay, so those things can get tossed aside. That was a failed attempt. Okay, so we're going to come over here and see what happens now. So next up, we've got an activation on the red. So right here, this is the first time I think this one is actually activating Caretaker. So the Caretaker will go first. It is a melee, then resurrect. So no melee can occur in that space. The next one is unearth any sealed grave to resurrect and compel. So basically, if this individual happened to be here, she would unearth a grave and then compel. And of course, that would just end up with her messing around with the reclaimed. So she's pretty interesting that way. But that's also not going to happen because there's no unearthed grave, or there's no grave or objective token in her area to do that with. So instead, she's going to move twice. And when she moves towards me. So she's going to try to get there as fast as possible. So it's going to stack her right in here. I am literally keeping my distance from these individuals just enough to keep myself out of harm's way. But that's probably not going to last forever. Deadly Charm. So controls the first one. The vampire can't do that. If not in objective's area, withdraw twice. Well, that's certainly going to push. Yeah, that's going to push her right into this space. So she's there now. She's outrunning me now. It's like she knows she's hurt, so she's just booking it. All right, so she thinks she can run away from me. I've got 4 new cards set up. That's going to empty out the rest of my deck, and we're going to go after her some more. I'm still just kind of ignoring the minions. They're chasing me. It's a little scary, but I'm going to keep moving away from them. So what I'm going to use right now is probably the Stalker's Cloak. It's going to give me some defense in case they happen to catch up to me. Plus, it states that I can withdraw and then mark an enemy I can see. So I basically can shuffle to here, and from here, I can't see anything over here, but I could see, I believe I can draw a line from that. No problem. Yeah. So let's actually go ahead and mark this. Oh, that's a thing. Do I want to mark this person when I'd rather mark the villain? Probably not. So we don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything there. So we could just be happy with the withdrawal itself. So I'm just going to go with that, just the withdrawal. And then the second one's going to be to bolster up my defenses even more to withdraw again. And the reason I'm not using that mark is because I'm wait to put it over here. And now I'm going to put this mark on the vampire. The downside is I don't get to go and attack it yet. So this could actually backfire on me quite badly. So we'll see how this goes. First card off the top is red. So what do we have here? One. Oh yeah, that individual. So let's see what the caretaker is going to do. Melee resurrect is not going to happen. Unearth a sealed grave, not going to happen. Move twice. So again, it's, oh, look at that. It is in my space. It is trying to get to me now. Fun. Okay, so with that enemy in my space now, I need to think about potentially taking her out as an issue. But we're not done yet. The vampire, it says, if sated, withdraw and control. She's not sated, so that's good. She won't take that objective yet. It says move twice toward the nearest hero and then melee and then withdraw if sated. Ouch. So she's going to come into my space. If she can attack me and do damage, she'll become sated and then she'll withdraw. So here she comes into my space. This is not fun. So she's hit me with 2 plus... No, sorry. Just 4. Okay, it's not that bad. Let's see here. So we'll take 4 dice. And my defenses are way up, though, remember? Because I jumped them all the way up, so I got 5 defense, which is nice. So we're going to roll these all off and see how we do. Yeah. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's so close. Okay, so we're all right. We're okay. That was a big-time attempt to hit. So it didn't hit, and you can see here, it would only actually... where is the... Where is the card here? Yes. Then withdraw if sated. So not sated at the end of this because the damage didn't go through. So because of this vampire is going to stay in the space I'm in, which is perfect. Okay, so this is great. So my melee attack is not that high, but I can make it higher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to use wooden stakes. And I'm going to take these wooden stakes and to put it on top of the vampire. I get a +2 for melee, and then I'm going to attack melee. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then I've got the stakes to use, and you can use the stakes after your roll if you want to, or you can. But the mark I'm going to use right away. So I'm going to be hoping I can land this hit. We'll see if we can do it. So we got 1 already, and we're going into this with 3 dice. That's good. And then in terms of defense, though, I forget what her defense value is. It's probably not low. 1 and, yes, 3. So it's a decent shot at defending this. Pretty even, but I do have the 1 advantage on her. No tombstone in that spot yet, so it hasn't moved because I haven't damaged her in a bit. Oh, my goodness. I can't roll for anything now. No. So that did not work either. Rats. I thought that might have been it. Okay, that's not going to be a kill. Okay. So with that being said, now we are done. So at this point, we move over to, oh, this is going to be fun. So green is next. That's down here. And that is going to be I think that's the, which individual? Oh, yes, the bearer. So shoot or move, then compel. Okay, so shoot or move. I can do that. I can compel. Yeah, I could do that. Move, melee, and resurrect. No. So it's going to be a move and then compel. If I remember the compel again. Yes, it's going to activate to move here. Okay, done. And then in terms of the vampire control. Oh, lucky me. Not in the right space this time. But bad me, or downside is melee. Targeting each hero in the villain's area in each adjacent area. Then withdraw if not stated. So she's going to hit me. So it's going to be it's 5 dice now. 1 plus 4. Ouch. That's a lot. Yikes. Okay, and then my defense is probably not that. Oh, actually, it is pretty good. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm still rolling the 5. So that's oh, geez, these huge rolls are terrifying. Here we go. Oh my, that's a lot of damage. But I did decent on shields. So I got 4 shields. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But staked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to discard the staked to cancel one of her hits. And that is another block. Ha! Nice try. You're not taking my cards from me. So another save there. Happy with that. Okay. It's quite the good fight going on here. So let me see here. Yeah, she's not going to become sated, so she's not going to withdraw, which means she stays in my space again. All right, so we're ready to go. We want to stake this vampire because it's so close to getting this the objective right now. I just don't like it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the wooden stakes card. This is going to give me a nice boost on my melee attack as well. It says that I can go ahead and chuck a stake on one of the enemies in my space, so it'll be right like that. This gives me a decent chance, being that we're at the beginning of a round and there's no buffs on this character at the moment, thank goodness. So we're probably going to use, I think, the crossbow as the one that is going to do the melee attack. So that's going to be 3 dice, and we have the stake that we can use if we need it. Defense-wise, just 1 die. So this gives us a really good chance of pulling this off right now. We're going to see if we can make this work. Let's see. Are you kidding me? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the stake, and I can discard the stake from them to cancel either a hit or a defense. So I'm going to pull the stake out after using it, and that is going to remove the defense, thereby getting 1 attack through, and that is going to be the 3rd hit we needed to kill off the Countess. That was super, super close. Now, in plays that I did off camera, I was very much tied all the way through and then lost a number of times. This was the first time, probably because of the way the beginning worked out in terms of how successful I was at clearing out minions. It gave me enough time to kind of build a path through where they were chasing me, and I didn't have any minions coming at me from other side angles. I got very lucky. Plus, I also got lucky that the vampire didn't stay in this position and just take the objective. She wanted to come out and try to hit me, but I was able to defend myself well enough that she wasn't able to withdraw back to the space and then grab the token later. So that was also a huge plus. But this is one of those games that, again, when you change up the character you're playing or the actual faction you're controlling, in terms of not controlling but going up against, and the boss or the villain, as well as not only that, but just the map itself, there's so much variation in terms of how the map's going to be laid out. And I'm really looking forward to once you become more and more comfortable with this game, I can see how the speed of this thing could really ramp up. And you can get really comfortable with one character, then it becomes really easy to add that second character in. And then you keep going from there. And again, it scales really well. So if you got a second character, you're going to be doing the exact same similar things, but have a totally different set of skills. The actual HP value will double. So it'll go from 3 to 6 if you were doing this type of scenario. And also, when you go to resolve a card off the top of the deck here, and you flip it over for the villain side of things, you're going to be resolving not only for the villain like you normally would, but also for minions for both of the heroes that you'd be controlling if you had 2. So that's going to result in, a better scaling for the more characters you control, right? So you're not going to be in a situation like this where it's just going to activate 1 minion. It's going to be activating a number of minions based on the number of heroes being controlled. So again, that scaling is really nicely done. And it definitely keeps the game board exciting and interesting and constantly popping. The other thing that can really be a pain is when the villain happens to, or the card that comes off the villain deck happens to say, okay, you need a purple individual. And let's say hypothetically this individual wasn't on the game board at all and was in the bag here somewhere. if you pull one out of the top here, and that's a bad example, but if you pull one out of the top and it ends up being the same matching color, so like this, as the card you pulled, then you immediately have to resolve that minion. And that could be pretty nasty sometimes because it could show up, say, here or something like that. Of course, that's not the right color, but it could show up here if it was green and this symbol over here was green, and then it's right next to you and it's ready to do some big time damage to you and stuff like that. And you weren't really anticipating that. So curveballs are going to happen throughout the gameplay that are going to throw a wrench into whatever plan you think you have going on with the cards you play and the deck you're building as you play through it. I really enjoy this. This was a lot of fun. Plus, I like the fact of how streamlined the whole system is. It's just very intuitive. Once you realize how the damage works and stuff like that, you realize at the end of the day, once the dice resolve themselves, and you're rolling for a combat in general, so you have a bunch of dice like this together, you roll them off. You don't care about if I'm the attacker. You know, I'm only looking for hits. I don't care about shields. I just know instantly I failed that roll, essentially. And then, of course, it doesn't matter how much damage gets through at the end of that calculation between hits and shields. At the end of the day, it's just one damage getting through. And that also simplifies the combat, as well as the line of sight stuff being simplified to the point that it moves quick. There's none of this, you're not just sitting there kind of analyzing every possible option to the nth degree. But it gives you enough strategy you're constantly kind of dealing with the curveballs that get thrown at you throughout. So I had a lot of fun with this one. Looking forward to seeing what the final production is going to be like. And of course, like I said earlier in the video, there's definitely going to be scenarios that are going to throw special setup rules, special rules, and of course, these villains are going to have rules that are specific to them that you're not going to find in other villains and things like that. And that's going to be a lot of fun to go through and try to essentially tackle with different characters in the game. I thought it made sense for this playthrough to have, Vanessa go up against, seeing as she was a vampire hunter against a vampire. It made logical sense. She did pretty good. She did pretty solid. That beginning of wiping out this whole corner section over here as fast as she did was pretty epic. And I can tell you, like I said, first few games I played, that did not happen. I did not get the rolls I needed in that first section, and it was a different game. I think by being able to clear that out, it got me, an easier path, let's say, to the vampire. And I was able to get interacting with the vampire right away and keep it from its sated state, which could have really, really caused some serious grief. I was able to get really lucky and keep that from being an issue. But that will definitely bite you, and it's there to bite you. But long story short, had a lot of fun with this. Hope this helps you guys make an informed decision on the Kickstarter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.